For some strange reason, you would win the primary. You will not have our support because we absolutely will not provide any resources to a candidate who is openly talking about breaking the law, who is openly posting videos of himself being drunk, on the street, unable to get up with a bottle of vodka or whatever it was in his hand, who's openly talking about basically engaging in transactional sex with women using money. I mean, no, we're not going to do that.
Alrighty, welcome back. Alabama Politics This Week. This week's episode brought to you by Fun with Technology. We're helping everybody with their fun with technology.
Oh, if only they knew.
Oh, I know, right?
Nobody knows the troubles we've seen.
We had a completely different show set up for y'all. Okay, just so you know, we had a completely different show. We had a great one. It was really good. We're not going to tell you about it because now you'd be disappointed in this one. But we had a couple of guests that were just going to knock it out of the park, and then the Supreme Court decision dropped, and everybody else had to run for whatever. And so listen, we're gonna get back to it to them next week, and hopefully and reschedule. And so maybe this week's show will be next week's show, and it'll all work out in the wash. All right, so it'll all come together. It will. We want to thank our fine folks over. Sorry, I was one of those folks sending me an email. So just wanted to thank the fine folks over at Wind Creek Entertainment for sponsoring. Same for the folks at SPLC. Really do appreciate both of them and everything they do. Thanks to Bernard Simonton for jumping in here. Really a last minute guy, and we really appreciate him and his availability and coming on and talking about it. It's really fantastic. And thanks to all y'all for following along and listening and doing all you can. All right. We got two tough. I'm sorry.
Wait. Before you do anything else,
okay.
We have to acknowledge that you had a big milestone birthday this week. Should I say the number?
I'm sorry. I was told there would be no math. Well,
I'm going to say the number because I think the number gives credit to you. You hit the big 50.
I did
this week.
I did,
and you don't look like you're 50. You look like
I don't act like it. I don't act like it. So yeah.
Well, and that's part of the reason that you don't look like it, because you live a very, at least from what I've seen, you live a very healthy and I think you're a pretty carefree guy, until it comes to talking about politics and stuff. Then you get intense, but you hit the big 50. Want to say happy birthday to you.
Thank you, sir.
And I had the privilege of, me and my lady, we had the privilege of attending your birthday.
Oh, it's our privilege.
Bash.
We're so glad to have you. Yes.
Man, it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure. I got to meet the man that he introduced himself to me as Papa Moon, your father. Great guy. I see where you get the genes from. Yeah. He's in great shape and doesn't look his age at all. Got a chance to meet sweet little Addie and Steph and other members of your family, and it was a great time. So just want to say, man, happy birthday, and we're happy for you, and God bless you, man.
Well, thank you. I do appreciate it. I enjoyed the nice little gift card that you left, and actually Andy and my wife are enjoying that. It's that's their afternoon stop. Yeah, that's their afternoon stop, and so it's I don't go very often myself because I try to with everything I do, there are certain things that once you get old, you figure out that you can't do anymore. And one of those things that I figured out that I can't do very much anymore is drink a lot of coffee. And it just, I love it. I love Starbucks. I love Dunkin'. I love all the others, the 7 Brews and all I love them. But you get to a certain age and you just gotta start, figuring out what works for you.
I go to Starbucks, but I don't drink coffee anymore either.
Really?
So what I'll get some of those juices that they've got.
Yeah.
That's what I generally get. But I thought, you and Steph might be able to use it.
Oh, listen, I'll use it
Steph
now.
and Addie,
I'll
that's
use
cool.
it because
Okay.
Aiden she loves her little drinks over there. And
Okay.
we've made the mistake a couple of times of not realizing that that some of those drinks had caffeine in them. And you want to talk about somebody bouncing off the walls. My Lord have mercy. Oh,
stay away from anything that has matcha in it. Matcha has caffeine, I found out.
Yeah. We figured that out the hard way one time. Lord have mercy, man. That little girl, I mean, she's the best. She really is. She is the best little she's so well behaved, and she's so good, and she's so sweet. I have no idea where she gets it from. But I guess it's kind of like that, the two negatives make a positive kind of thing. And so I guess that's because we're I don't think anybody would describe my wife and I as sweet necessarily. I mean, Steph is certainly a lot sweeter than I am, but she is. She's just I mean, but my Lord have mercy, the couple of times that she's had those things. We didn't figure it out till the second time, and good Lord, man, it was off the charts. But yeah, it will be well put to use, and so we do appreciate that. And and listen, everybody who came to the party and everybody who sent such nice messages and said nice things, I really do appreciate it. I as I've told everybody, I stopped counting birthdays at 21 because really that was the last one that really made a difference to me in any significant way. All the other ones have just been numbers. I like the gifts, but otherwise it just is, so now I'm just trying to outrun everything. And so we're on our way, but no, I do appreciate it.
Oh man, it was my pleasure. And another bonus to being there was I finally got to meet in person Bill and Susan Britt and Charlie Walker. Great folks. We had in fact, me and my lady when we pulled up, we walked up to the clubhouse, and I kind of looked at Bill and Susan. I was like, wait a minute, I know them. I wasn't used to seeing them in person, right?
Right, yeah,
I know them. And man, we stood out there and talked for probably about a good 20 minutes at least before we even got inside the clubhouse to see you. So that was pretty cool.
It's nice. That's nice. It's I know what you mean by that. It's one of those deals where you see somebody out of place somewhere, and and it takes you a few minutes to realize who the hell they are, and figure it out. But no, it was a good time. It was as I said before, it was a party filled with all the people who I like and want to be around. None of the people who I don't want to be around and have to stand there talking to and pretend like I like them. Just because that's what I told my wife. I said, don't invite anybody just because they're a big name and they might come and show. I don't want to stand around talking to these people and do that all afternoon long and have to cater to them because they showed up to my party to do. I don't want that. We had a nice little trivia game and the whole deal. It was great. Fantastic time. It was good. It was good. Everything was great. I could not have asked. We went to the beach last weekend and had a great time. And so it's been really, really nice. And so I do appreciate you and everybody for all of it. But back to reality. I wrote a column this week. Which everybody universally loved, and
stirred it up.
Look, I just watched the debate among the Democratic candidates who not Doug Jones. And so you had JaMel Brown, Chad Chig Martin, Dr. Boyd, Yolanda Flowers. Was the other Mathis guy, was he there?
I did not see him on the dais. I did not see him. Yeah.
And honestly, it was, in my opinion, it was just a shit show. I mean, it was just there were some decent ideas bandied back and forth at times, but it was just, you had the guy laying the cucumbers on the table to make fun of JaMel over the pickle video, and then JaMel going back and forth with his stuff and the twerking Tuesdays and and it's just, it was, I thought it was beneath the office that they were running for, and in a lot of ways. And I'm not saying that all of the people who were there are beneath the office, or that some of them would not make fine candidates. I think that, as I said, I respect in the column. I said, Will Boyd is a serious candidate, but being in that room didn't help him. It didn't help him. I don't think it helped him at all. I think that those other three people are not serious candidates. They're not, they have serious flaws. They have, it was not very helpful. And I think that until Democrats stop that sort of thing, that sort of spectacle that can be picked up by the other side and ridiculed and pasted out everywhere to say, oh, well, here's who the Democrats are. This is what they are right here. First of all, I don't like kicking serious candidates off ballots, but the idea that we're still entertaining JaMel Brown out here and inviting him to events is ridiculous. It's absurd. This is not a serious candidate. He is in no way behaved as a serious candidate should. There should be some behavioral standards to be to be allowed to be at events like that. All right, and he's not done it. And I know JaMel. I like him. He is for certain things. JaMel has done some good things for people. He has done some good stuff for the community in a lot of ways and around Montgomery. I know some of the stuff he's done. All right. But the way he's behaved in the governor's race, it's a joke. It's an absolute joke. And putting him on the stage only serves to disrupt the rest of everything that's going on. And then to have it entertained by Chig Martin to do the theatrics that he did, and to entertain this even further and to send it further down the hole, with the pickled stuff, it just is beneath everybody there. All right. It's beneath the office they're running for. And that's why I wrote that Doug is right for not going. He shouldn't go until they're going to put on a more serious debate.
Okay. So this is, you and I are in lockstep probably 90% of the time.
I understand.
This is maybe even 95% of the time, but this is the one sort of area where we're not. And I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
A few things. First of all, let me affirm some of what you said before I differ with the rest of what you said. I don't know JaMel. I don't know him, but I know what I've seen of him on display at that event. And I've also seen the Instagram video that somebody took of him and he posted, which is mind blowing to me, of him being literally fall out drunk on the streets of some city somewhere. I don't know if it was
there are like
Mobile.
15 of these videos out there of him being either fall out drunk or in a club dancing with some girl that he's all over, or also there have been multiple instances over the course of the last few weeks of him proudly talking about the fact that he's paying somebody's power bill in exchange for sex.
Okay. Well, see, you've been tracking him a lot more closely than I have, because I'll admit I haven't been tracking him at all. I basically, like you, I don't consider him. Say it again.
I wish I had taken your approach, to be honest with you. Yes.
I don't consider him a serious candidate. I have not since I guess my first real opportunities to kind of read what he had to say or watch what he had to say. I haven't considered him a serious candidate. And I have, we all know that I'm a Will Boyd guy, and Will and I have had conversations, and I've said to Will, I don't think he's a serious candidate. I don't think you have to expend any energy dealing with this guy. And I think he reinforces that. He even talks about, I don't know if you've seen this, Josh, but he even talked about smoking weed.
No, yeah.
Okay. I don't have any problem with people smoking weed, because I don't have a problem with weed. But I do believe this, and I don't smoke weed, by the way, never have. But I do believe this and know this: smoking weed is against the law. If you're talking about running to be the chief executive of the state of Alabama, and you're also talking openly about how you're breaking the law, which smoking weed is, that's a disqualifier for me. I blame the JaMel Brown problem on the Democratic Party. Yeah. My view is that our friend Dr. Randy Kelly should have pulled him aside long ago and said, look, man, the way you're behaving, we may not be able to stop you from entering the race and running in the primary, but I guarantee you that if by some strange miracle you win the general election, which nobody believes is going to happen, I don't think, with any who has any awareness of politics in our state. But if for some strange reason you would win the primary, you will not have our support, because we absolutely will not provide any resources to a candidate who is openly talking about breaking the law, who is openly posting videos of himself being drunk, on the street, unable to get up with a bottle of vodka or whatever it was in his hand, who's openly talking about basically engaging in transactional sex with women using money. I mean,
and
we're not going to do that.
That's aside from the pickle video, the pickle video. And all that. And it just, look, I will say quickly, not to interrupt, but there's a TV show in here where a JaMel Brown type character somehow gets elected governor of the state of Alabama. And that all of these redneck Republicans then have to learn how to deal with him back and forth, and they have to work together. And it could be a real, like, Ted Lasso inspirational kind of thing. But I'm just saying, there's a TV show in that.
Well, it's definitely more Hollywood than anything, except for the fact that I think if somebody were to create the TV show, we'd all be thinking, oh, this is a Hollywood contrivance. Surely nothing like this exists.
Yeah, right.
This is the way this guy behaves. But anyway, having said all of that and affirming your position on all of that, I believe that what I saw of that forum or debate, whatever you want to call it, forum debate, had a lot of upside to it. First of all, I don't know who the moderator was. Maybe I missed that at the beginning or something. I don't remember her ever really introducing herself, or maybe I just wasn't taking notes at the time she did. But the moderator asked very substantive questions during the time that I watched, and I watched the first 50 minutes of it, I guess. She asked very substantive, relevant questions, and I think it gave Will Boyd in particular an opportunity to give some very substantive answers, whether you agree with them or not, that Alabamians needed to hear. And I think Alabamians also had the opportunity to juxtapose Will's answers with Chig's, and I'm not even saying all of Chig's answers were bad. I think Will's across the board during the time I watched were much more substantive, but it gave you a chance to juxtapose his answers with Chig's and with Yolanda's, and to really have an understanding as to why those two candidates, who I would argue, while they're not strong candidates, I don't think they're clowns. I think JaMel Brown is a clown. I think he's clowning us. I don't think Chig Martin is clowning us. I don't think Yolanda Flowers is clowning us. I just don't think they're as strong or as capable of doing the job as Will Boyd is. So
I don't think either one of them are Democrats, but I mean,
Oh, and well, maybe that's true.
Yeah.
And I know there's been some allusion to that in various, at various times. But whether they're Democrats or not, I think it was a good opportunity for voters to do some comparison. And for that reason, I wish Doug had been there, because Doug also, like Will Boyd, even though I'm not supporting Doug in the primary, I think Doug is a serious candidate. And I think Doug has something to say that Alabamians need to hear. And I think they also need the opportunity to compare what Doug's positions are with what Will Boyd's positions are. So I wish he had been there. Now, the other thing I'll say is this, and this is a frustration that has nothing to do with policy or partisanship. It's the fact that, unfortunately, these sorts of forums are being produced, and I'm not blaming the organizers because I think they're probably doing the very best they can. But these forums are being produced in such a way that I think the very medium of social media streaming diminishes them. Mm-hmm. I wish that forum had taken place in an auditorium with the right kind of production values that we're accustomed to seeing. It's a little difficult for me. I'm just speaking for myself. And, you and I make our living creating content.
Right.
It's a little frustrating for me to sit and have to watch something for 40, 50 minutes on my phone or even if it were on my laptop, that's really kind of produced in a way where you got one camera and it's not really, really done
at a level. It looked like they were trying to sell you a timeshare. I mean, let's be honest. It looked like you were in a room to hear a timeshare pitch. I mean, Jesus Christ, they were in the back room of a Hampton Inn. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it was just, that's all. Yeah. I mean, that's exactly what it looked like.
Yeah, it wasn't, and that may be a petty thing, and that may not even bother most people.
No, it's not petty.
But for me, it was a problem.
Listen, I think that's perfect, and we're going to agree completely on this because, again, I think it goes back to the credibility of candidates in this thing. We're pulling for a party here that has been. It's been atrocious for the last decade and a half in terms of organizing, in terms of recruiting candidates at the top of the tickets, in terms of doing a lot of things in terms of fundraising and reaching out to business communities and getting the necessary resources to run serious campaigns. And when you produce things like that, like you're talking about, that again goes back to the credibility. Who's going to donate? You know what I'm saying? Because look, we can pound the table all we want to about money in politics. All right, we can pound it all we want to and say that it shouldn't be this way, and it shouldn't. But it is. You can accept the reality of it and try to work within those confines, or you can rage against it and talk about the unfairness of it and lose. And so
go ahead. So let me ask you this. See if you agree with me on this. I don't blame the organizers. I don't blame the candidates who were present. I again blame the Democratic Party. Why hasn't the Democratic Party, which is constantly raising money in our state, and which apparently is getting a substantial amount of financial support every month from the National Party, why didn't they produce at least one gubernatorial forum where we could have Doug Jones, Will Boyd, Chig Martin, Yolanda Flowers, JaMel Brown, Nathan Miller, I think his name is, the older gentleman. Why not do that? I mean, that would, to me, you have that one time that would address the concerns that I have, which, even though you and I don't think they're petty, some people will say it's petty. And it would also address the concern you have about creating a credible presentation that fundraisers can or donors can make a decision about giving money to candidates. Why not?
I honestly, I don't know the answer to that. I don't. And so whatever I say would be speculation. My speculation is, the party felt like there was one real candidate that they wanted to have at the top of this ticket. And I think they felt that from very early on. And I think it has to do with fundraising and the positioning of not just that candidate, but the kind of coalition of candidates that he has put together, because it helped raise the bottom half of the ticket as well. And it has helped tremendously with fundraising up and down that ticket. And I think that's part of the reason why. And I think part of the reason for that is, I think that's part of the reason why we have not seen the infighting and we have not seen the bickering and we saw an ADC that decided to endorse 4 different candidates, and instead of just one.
Yeah, that was a weak move. They should have, if the ADC, to me, that was a very weak move.
Well, I think they shouldn't be doing that anyway. Honestly, I don't think that they should be endorsing candidates.
In the primaries, you mean?
Yeah, in the primaries. Yeah, I don't think they should be doing.
I agree with you. Yeah, I don't think they should have either. But if they were going to do it, they should have just had the courage. I started to say something else, and then I saw my pastor's face. They should have the courage to pick one candidate if they're going to do it. But I agree with you; they shouldn't have endorsed at all.
Yeah, I just I just think that, and rightly or wrongly, okay. I just and that was one of the reasons why I felt like, and I talked to you, talked to him. That I thought that Will Boyd should not be in this race. All right. I felt like there's a position for him to be somewhere else. And I felt like he could better serve people and be somewhere else in a race somewhere. Because I didn't think he was going to get the support either financially from donors and the support from the party. And I think that those things have kind of borne themselves out.
But what I'm asking for, well, I don't agree with that. I think if a person has a conviction to run, I think they should run, whether it's Will Boyd or Yolanda Flowers, even JaMel Brown. I think whoever feels a conviction to run should run and do the work and deal with the outcomes, whatever they are, positive or negative. But what I'm asking for is a party that just gives Democratic voters the opportunity to do a fair, and not just fair, but a suitable comparison of all of the gubernatorial candidates. That's what I'm saying. The party can do that, and I don't know how that would have undermined anybody's ability, whether it's Will Boyd or Doug Jones or whomever, to have the ultimate outcome that they're going to have.
I don't necessarily know that it would have undermined anybody either, and but I just think that and I'll be honest and say that I find it hard to fault them after a decade and a half of futility, where they see a crack in the door here with the way things are nationally, with the way voters seem to be feeling around the country, and especially in the South right now, where you're seeing 20 and 30-point swings in some districts towards Democrats. I just felt like they saw that crack in the door. And they said, here is our best opportunity to kick it open a little bit, to make up some ground, to put some money into the coffers of this party, to restore some faith among voters in this state with this party. And I feel like that's the reason why they did that. And some of the things, I honestly, man, it's hard for me to fault them after that Friday debate. I mean,
but you're saying But that you're talking about, I'm not clear on the that you're talking about. Why they did that? What is the that?
Well, you were saying why they've not been so interested in promoting all of the Democratic candidates and putting everybody on the stage and doing those things. I felt like they looked at that Doug Jones and that coalition of candidates that with Ensler and Ron Sparks and McLaughlin for AG and all of that little lineup that they put together. I felt like they looked at that, and I'm talking about Joe Reed and Randy Kelly and some of the other folks who were in charge of this party. I feel like they looked at that and they said, those things are going to excite a certain group of people in this state. And let's be honest, we're talking about white moderates is who we're talking about. Folks that the Democratic Party have lost to Republicans over the course of the last 20 years or longer. They're looking at now we're an opportunity in the suburbs, in some of these areas to get white women voters, to get some of these white males that we have lost. And here's the top of the ticket that these folks are going to look at and take seriously. And they may come back to us and we can then show them down the ticket, because if you look down the ticket, There's a lot of really good candidates down that ticket that are going to get some real help that they should have gotten a long time ago. Guys who are attorneys, folks who have been around a lot. There's a lot of minority representation in a lot of districts around that I know Anthony Daniels has put a lot of work into, and I know some other folks has put some work into in Jefferson County, in Mobile County, in Montgomery County. The Reeds have put a lot of work into recruiting some folks in some of these areas. And you know, at the end of this, I hope to be able to tell a nice story about how a lot of people who were historically at each other's throats kind of came together to do some good here. And I hope it works out for them. But I think that's the reason why we're seeing what we're seeing.
But here's what I'm saying.
Sure.
And I think this actually, what I'm suggesting actually, if true, if what you're saying is true, would make your point and be to the advantage of those candidates. What better way, if it's true, that Doug Jones, and I'm just talking about the gubernatorial candidates, not everybody else. If it is indeed true that Doug Jones, and I don't think it is, but let's just say it is. If it is indeed true that Doug Jones is the best person to be the Democratic nominee, what better way to demonstrate that than to put him on the same stage with the other people that are running so he can showcase his ideas and his skill sets to further convince and solidify the Democratic electorate? How would that not be to his advantage if that is indeed true?
In Eufaula and across Barber, Bullock, and Russell counties, we stand by the people who stand by us. Representative Barry Forte has always stood up for our communities. When the state tried to close two of our largest employers, Forte pushed back. When politicians tried to take away your vote for the Public Service Commission, Forte stood up for your rights, and he fought to bring more state funding to our schools. Barry Forte doesn't play about us, and we don't play about him. Let's send Barry Forte back to finish the job.
I honestly think that they don't want to highlight what is what took place on Friday, and I think that's a problem. I think had it just been Will Boyd, and maybe even Yolanda Flowers, Will Boyd, Yolanda Flowers, I think that's something that would have been entertained. But that was just it was just a shit show. And I don't think that it undermines everything that they're trying to present at this time. And what, I just think that both of these debates have undermined what the Democratic Party is trying to say to people, and the image that they're trying to overcome right now, which is that they are a joke of candidates that are unserious candidates that that these folk, the serious voters out there should consider. And I think that's what they're trying to get around. So
I can say this. I remember very clearly watching the Republican presidential debates. I guess it was 2016, with Trump acting a fool up there, and even drawing Marco Rubio into some of the foolishness about penis size and whatever else. And that didn't seem to undermine overall the ability of people to make a decision, even though I think obviously Republican voters made the wrong decision for the wrong reasons. But I think it was effective in at least showing people what they were going to get. And my argument is, as bad as that one was, this one, it may have been equally as bad. But I think the result would still be the same. It would give people an opportunity to hear the clear presentation of ideas from credible candidates, which I think everybody else that was on that stage but JaMel Brown was. And if Doug had been there, he would have been one of the credible candidates. I think it would have given people an excellent opportunity to compare credible candidates. And I think sensible voters, and that's who it's for. It's for the potential Democratic voters, are going to know what they're getting when they hear JaMel Brown talking the way he does. And in fact, looking at the comments during the time that I watched it, it was pretty clear to most of the people that I saw commenting that they thought JaMel Brown was a disgrace, He had one or two people that were promoting him, but the rest seemed to be saying this guy's a joke, or this guy is a disgrace, or I can't believe he said that, and that sort of thing. People are discerning enough to see that he's not, which is why we know he's not going to be, whoever ends up winning the Democratic nomination, it's not going to be JaMel Brown, and he's going to be at the bottom of the pack. We know that,
I mean, that's most likely the case. We don't agree on this one, and that's fine. That's fine. We still love each other. But that's right. We got to get out of here. We got to do the nut. Our right wing nut is Todd Blanche and Kash Patel and the Department of Justice under the Trump administration. And I want to include two things. Number one, our friends, this lawsuit against the SPLC, which is atrocious, and the indictment against them, not the lawsuit, the indictment against them for fraud. It's so stupid. It will be laughed out of court, and I hope that it laughs so thoroughly out that it is the embarrassment that it should be. And you already see the SPLC with some of the filings this week pushing back on that and saying, I know you don't know this because no serious person at the FBI or the Department of Justice that's worked there for the last 20 years will tell any of you dipshits anything. But we've actually been working with law enforcement throughout all of these things and have stopped some pretty heinous acts from occurring. And so in addition to that one, I also want to include in this nuttery the indictment of James Comey, for an Instagram post. Fucking sakes, what are we doing? And
stretching.
And the lack of indictments against any male included in any of the Epstein files.
Say it again. Again. I'm just going to add, because I know we got to go, I'm just going to add real quickly that anybody who has been following the work of the FBI and the SPLC knows informants are an integral part of what is done. In fact, informants are the reason that way back in 1965, even under J. Edgar Hoover, we were able to know the truth about what happened to Viola Liuzzo when she was brutally assassinated on Highway 81 running between Selma and Montgomery. So, this whole thing is a joke, and I think you're right. It should be laughed out of court, and hopefully it will be.
Yeah, and I have talked to some folks at the SPLC. I know personally of some instances of some things that were stopped with information that was shared back and forth between the FBI and the SPLC's informants, and so I look forward to the full story coming out and everybody eating every word of this. And listen.
Amen.
Until Kash Patel can look us directly in our eyes and tell us what happened here.
No, you didn't.
Till next week, y'all be safe out there.
No, you didn't.